I feel the need for speed.
So I set my course, my battle begins. There's no mistaking this feeling. I feel no remorse, no I can't resist. I'm breaking away.
So I've been wanting to do another Sonic video for a while because, well, let's be fair, that's the most popular thing I do. Besides Tomb Raider, on occasion. I mean, Sonic's always been good to me. Like, when it comes to views, when it comes to people liking what I have to say, I mean, I have been a big Sonic fan since ever. And I know way more about the series than anyone has any right to. So, you might be saying, well, didn't you just do Sonic Omens? Well, yes, but that was a fan project, and I wanted to do official stuff. And the thing about it is, I'm running out of official stuff to talk about in terms of the games, and that just dawned on me when I sat down to think about it. I'm like, alright, I want to do a Sonic game. What games haven't I covered? Shoot. I mean, think about it. I've done all the Game Gear games. I've done all the Genesis games. I've done all the Dreamcast games. I've done, well, most of the Saturn games. I haven't talked about Sonic Jam. That's just a collection. So there's not really much to go into there. And 3D Blast, that port is basically the same as the Genesis version. There was the weird Sonic game of the Genesis that was like a downloadable feature only in Japan through the Sega modem, but that's like really hard for me to get a hold of and wouldn't work, so we're not doing that. I might be able to emulate it somehow, I don't know, I have to look into that one, but it's just a puzzle game, it's not really anything to write home about. And you have to say, what about Secret Rings? Yes, I know about Secret Rings. I haven't forgotten about Secret Rings. Secret Rings is like the one exception in recent memory where I'm like, man, I really haven't ever talked about it. And I know there's also another elephant in the room that I do need to tackle someday, as I promised I would at the end of my Sonic 06 review. And I still haven't done it because, well, there's two reasons. One, that would be a large project for me to take care of because I want to do it a certain way. Following that, I just really don't want to freaking play it. I don't want to do it. It's a long game. It takes a lot of time, and in order to do it right, I have to play through the whole thing again. And I don't want to do it. This is coming from the guy that played Sonic 06 multiple times. And I don't know what it is, but something about that one, it makes me angrier than 06. So it's hard for me to deal with, but I want to do something unique and special this time. So I decided to start thinking out of the box. Usually when creators run out of stuff to do with their core series and try to talk about the games, they talk about the extended media and other stuff, and things you wouldn't normally talk about. I still want to stick with games for the most part, though the cartoons have been on my mind, so maybe I'll talk about those someday, as a lot of you have been asking my opinions. But I still wanted to stick to games, so I had to get more, think, what other Sonic games haven't I talked about? And then it dawned on me, Sonic in the arcades. And you might be saying, Sonic has arcade games? Well, yeah, some of you may not be aware of that, but Sega, for a long time, were arcade kings in Japan. Actually, that fell off recently with coronavirus. They actually forced them to sell most of their arcades, if not all of them, I believe, to a Chinese company, which is a shame because for decades, Sega was top tier in terms of arcades in Japan. The arcades never died in Japan like they did in America. They've always been a thing. So I guess it took the global pandemic to kill that. But Sega, being kings of arcades, obviously was going to use their mascot in their arcades. Now, there are a few things that I'm probably going to avoid talking about. There are a few, like, Sega experiences that are more like rides than arcade games. And those were unique to one particular location in Japan, and I have no way of experiencing those, so those are out. There are, of course, coin-guzzling ticket producers like, Sonic Spinners and stuff like that, or pachinko machines, but that's not really what we want to go into. I mean, first of all, I can't emulate those. I would have to go to an arcade and find one, which is, a pain. Some of them are only in Japan, like probably the pachinko machines, and are those really games at that point? I mean, they are, but they aren't. I mean, they're basically used to get tickets, to get prizes and stuff. I mean, you've all been to Chuck E. Cheese, right? You know how that works. So we want to talk about the actual, arcade games. The really core arcade games with the cabinets and the screens and the joysticks and, stuff like that. That's what we really want to get into. Well, I'm sure most of you immediately thought of, he's going to talk about Sonic the Fighters. I thought about that. But Sonic the Fighters is a unique topic that actually has a lot more into it than most of the arcade games do. In addition, Sonic the Fighters is also unique as it's one of the only arcade games that actually finally got ported to the home. It took quite a few years for Gems Collection to come out and bring it to the home consoles, but it was brought to the home, and now you can actually buy it standalone on 360 and PS3. So because Sonic the Fighters had a lot more interesting facts that I want to go over, I don't really want to delve into it right now. I want to save it for its own unique video, because it could be its own video, and I'd rather give it the justice it deserves. Because Sonic the Fighters is kind of overlooked among Sonic games. It's not really the greatest fighting game in the world, but it's so stupidly fun and has some cool characters in it that I think it's worth it to talk about on its own, so I'm going to save that for later. I want to talk about Sonic arcade games, proper arcade games that are specific to arcades that have never been ported anywhere else. You can only play them in their original formats in the arcade, unless you're like me and finally managed to get MAME to cooperate and managed to get these things to run, sort of, on your computer. And I assure you, getting some of this stuff to work as intended was not an easy thing for me to do, because none of these games really are meant to work with a typical controller keyboard layout. They were designed differently than that. So we're going to start at the beginning. The very first one. The very first true Sonic game in an arcade. What was it called? What great adventure would he go on? We are, of course, talking about Waku Waku Sonic Patrol Car. I'm not making this up. This is a thing. It was meant as a spin-off title for little kids. It's not really much of a game. It is, but it's violently easy. I don't think it's even possible to lose. And it was meant so little kids could sit in this little patrol car and play as Sonic driving down the road. And eventually Eggman shows up and he throws bombs at you and you gotta hit him, and it's simple, dirt simple. The visuals are nothing super special, but they were okay for the time. And the sound effects are actually really grating. I don't really like them very much. I'm sure as a novelty in an arcade for a little kid, like if my son had been like 4 years old and we found one of these things, I mean, maybe now, and he's 8 now, maybe now he would be like all for it. I mean, I'd give him a quarter to play it. Why not? It was a cute little thing for cute little kids. Like, it's nothing hardcore. This isn't really what you want to talk about, is it? I get that. But it's relevant because this game features the very first ever Sonic voice acting in a video game. This is in 1991, mind you, and Sonic and Eggman are both fully voice acted.
覚えているソニック。今日のパトロールはこれでおしまい。みんなは交通ルールを守ってね。じゃあみんな、また会おう。Thank you.
Sonic is voiced by Takashi Kuseo, and Eggman is voiced by Masataro Sato? I am probably horrifically butchering these names, but they are credited as the very first ever voice actors for Sonic and Eggman, way back in 1991, at least in a video game, like I said, and Japanese, yes, but hey, this is relevant. I mean, most people don't know that. So, there you go. And mind you, they would reprise their roles in pretty much all the games I'm going to talk about, which is kind of cool, actually, because these games are quite a few years apart. I mean, not drastically so, a couple of years, but still, they reprise their roles. Nice to be consistent, I guess. Alright, so what's up next? Well, I'll tell you, all the machines I'm about to talk about came out in 1993, at least in Japan. A couple got very, very, very limited releases in North America. Maybe not even North America. They count Australia as North America, a Western release. It's an English dub. But there's one that saw Australia and one that got a very limited release in a couple other places. But like basically for the most part, these games are often considered to be Japanese exclusive. They technically aren't, but they might as well be. So what hardcore game are we going to talk about in Sonic's library? Something where he has stopped the diabolical Dr. Eggman from destroying the planet, yeah. What serious, edgy plot are we going to deal with first? I'm talking, of course, about the Sega Sonic Popcorn Popper. If I didn't talk about this, you would call me out on it. This, you may be wondering why I'm even talking about this, because it's a popcorn machine. It's not even really an arcade game. It's literally a machine designed for kids to put a quarter in and get some popcorn. You can even choose the flavor. The flavor options are salted, butter, and curry, because it was a Japanese exclusive and they like curry over there. I've never tasted curry myself, but apparently it's delicious. Anywho, I'm only talking about this because there is a little bit of a minigame that goes into it where Eggman shows up and tries to stop Sonic from giving the children popcorn. Because evil, I guess. And he chases Sonic around with a comedically sized mallet, and his running animation is very prancy. And Sonic has to run up a conveyor belt from Eggman. And can you talk about how fast Eggman is? I never understood his need for speed. Like, he's clearly the fastest human alive. He outruns Sonic on occasion. I don't know how that works. And then after that, you also have to help Sonic pop the popcorn without Eggman stopping you from doing that. And then Eggman gets taken away by like a crane, and then then Sonic gives it to Tails, and then Tails gives it your popcorn. Also, fun fact, this is the only true, proper, exclusive arcade game, at least at the time, that featured Tails. I'm sure there were probably some spinners or something that did too, but in terms of like proper, exclusive arcade games, yeah, this is the only one that's got Tails in it. Don't know why, but yeah. That's the case. Okay, I see how this might not be exactly what you guys are looking for. Let's try to talk about something else. How about something weirder than the Waku Waku Sonic Patrol car? Because that is a tough thing to do, and somehow they did it. I'm talking, of course, about Sega Sonic Cosmo Fighter. And apparently this is now happening. Much like Waku Waku Sonic Patrol Car, this is another one of those games for little kids that's designed for you to put a quarter in, or well, I guess it wouldn't be a quarter. I can't imagine it'd only be a single yen, because it's like a penny, isn't it? No token. However they do it in Japan. Coin! They put a coin in! They put a coin in, and they get to play a little space shooter game. I'm pretty sure, much like Waku Waku, it's impossible to lose. The sprites are comedically oversized, and it's a very, very kiddie style with like smiley face stars and stuff. You again fight Eggman. You do get options on weapons too, like Sonic has different modes he can switch his spaceship into. And you stop Eggman from taking over the Sonic station? Sonic has space stations? Is this canon? I feel like this is relevant. Does Sonic have a bunch of space stations named after him? Does he own them? What? I have so many questions right now. I thought the only space station was Ark. I mean, there was the Death Egg, but that was a weapon. Was that a station? I guess that kind of counts as a station, doesn't it? But now there's like other space colonies that Sonic is just, what? And then there's Flickies on them. Is there a space colony for Flickies? Is that how this works? The tiny animals, they live in space? They're not even from Earth. They're aliens. It all makes sense now. Actually, it doesn't. This game is fine. I mean, it's worth it as a curiosity, but like I said, it's another one for little kids. It's not something that's gonna be for the hardcore Sonic fans. It's, you know, like I said, it's impossible to lose. It's just, you know, you play through, you get a bunch of stars, you have fun with it, it's cute, it's adorable, little kids would like it, and that's about it. The original voice actors reprised their roles for all the Japanese games, but this one in particular is actually super relevant because this one was released limitedly, exclusively actually, in Sega Sydney, Australia, and got an English translation and a dub. This was in 1993. This is arguably the first time Sonic and Eggman have been voiced in English in a game. I believe that's the case. And I bring this up because we to this day have no idea who did the voice acting for the English version. No one's ever found a ROM of the English cabinet. It's gone. In fact, it wasn't until like 2017 we even found the Japanese one. And there's been no confirmation, no evidence to suggest who voiced the characters for that version of the game. Which means that the original English voice actors for Sonic and Eggman, for the very first time in a video game, are lost to time. I know we have the cartoons with Julia White voicing Sonic, for example. Like, that by 1993, that was the case. But this is a game. This is, you know, Sonic's core is the games. This is the first time he's been voiced in English in a game, and we don't know who did it. One of the unsolved mysteries of the Sonic fanbase. Fun fact, though. Right. I have stalled long enough. There's probably one game in particular you guys were really hoping I'd cover, because it's one of those games that's so curious to people. Like, it's just like, that looks kind of cool, and it's got these characters that you rarely see, and, oh, it's only in arcades. And for a long time, people thought it was only in Japan, too. But it apparently did get a very limited release in North America, although it did not get a dub at all. So it's kind of irrelevant when it comes to voice acting and stuff. But I'm, of course, talking about Sega Sonic the Hedgehog. What the heck is Sega Sonic the Hedgehog? Also, why do they keep calling these games Sega Sonic? It's like, if they call it one word, Sega Sonic. I don't know why that was a thing. Maybe that was their arcade brand. They were just going with that. I don't know. But anyway, Sega Sonic the Hedgehog. So Sega Sonic the Hedgehog is the only game on this list that is well and true a game. Like, true down to the core. It's an isometric game kinda like 3D Blast in terms of its camera angle, but in no other way. The game centers around Sonic and Mighty and Ray, because Mighty the Armadillo and Ray the Flying Squirrel made their debuts in this game. Mighty would later be involved in Knuckles Chaotix, as you know. Ray wouldn't show up again until there was DLC along with Mighty and Sonic Mania. That's like 20 years apart from not seeing these characters. Though I think I can kind of explain it, because one of the interesting things about Sega Sonic the Hedgehog is that it's a co-op game. You can play it with 2 players, and I believe the idea of both Mighty and Ray is they wanted to create characters that didn't have, like, unique abilities when compared to Sonic. They were effectively just Sonic, avatars. Their mechanics are basically the same for the game's purposes. Even Ray, who's a flying squirrel, doesn't seem to be able to fly. I have not determined if there's a way to do that in this game, and I don't believe there is, and I actually don't think it would be very helpful because of the way the game works. See, Sonic, Mighty, and Ray are captured by Dr. Eggman, and Eggman puts them through this gauntlet of traps. Your job is to get through all the areas, get to Eggman, and stop him from trying to murder you. Now, this is easier said than done because this is one of the most intense, claustrophobic, panic-inducing games I have ever played in the Sonic series. Do you want to go fast? Because you got to in Sega Sonic the Hedgehog. There's such a frantic sense of just move in this game, because it's one thing after another. The music is top-notch, and visuals for 1993 are stellar. This game looks great. And it's a fun, unique experience trying to run Sonic through this gauntlet of traps. I'm surprised that most modern games haven't tried to emulate this kind of style. It always seems like it's always about the platforming and stuff, which there are elements of that here, but nothing like this, where you gotta run and dodge stuff and avoid obstacles. Like, I don't know, it's unique, and it's really cool. But I bet you're wondering, why hasn't this been ported later if it's so good? I can answer that question. That's because of the control scheme, because it's also unique. The control for this game relied on a trackball and a single button for jumping. Trackball controls are notoriously difficult to emulate, something I will personally vouch for in trying to play this game on a keyboard. Oh my god, don't actually do that. Whew, that was a pain. And according to Yuji Naka himself, it was originally planned to put this game in Sonic Gems Collection, which I think, above all the games, it probably deserves that, along with Knuckles Chaotix. I mean, those are lost gems on platforms that haven't been able to be, brought forward, whether it be the arcades or the 32X. And Sonic the Fighters was in there, but according to him, the trackball controls just proved too difficult to emulate and convert to a new style. Which is such a weird excuse to me, because why can't you make the controls modeled after 3D Blast? I mean, 3D Blast has its problems, but I think the D-pad did a perfectly fine job of controlling Sonic in that game, and I can see the system working just fine for Sega Sonic. I don't know why that wasn't a consideration. Maybe it would take too much development time for what was effectively a collection. I mean, Sonic the Fighters required basically no changes because it's just a fighting game. And then they put Sonic CD in there, which also counts as a gem, I suppose. And they also put Sonic R for reasons that I fail to understand, because that's not a gem at all. What's the opposite of a gem? Not sure, but it's definitely not that, as I have repeatedly stated, forever and always. That being said, Sega Sonic the Hedgehog is such a good game, and I desperately wish they'd consider trying to convert it somehow, maybe a standalone download on Steam, and try to make the controls work. I know that trackballs are basically impossible to convert to the original experience. Like, you can't put a trackball on a controller and have it work the same way. It doesn't happen. And I get that. But this game could function with analog controls, and I do think it's possible to make it work. As someone who definitely made it work on a keyboard, I assure you an analog would work much better. But this is one of a handful of Sonic games that very few people have experienced, and while sometimes that's a good thing, it's not always, and in this case, it's not a good thing because this is a great game. It's got such flair, such vibrance, such frantic fun that I can't even believe that they've never even attempted it past Sonic Gems Collection. I can see it being, you know, definitely an interesting thing for people to experience and play. I mean, if you're not going to make more arcade cabinets or give us a North American release, then at least put it on the home market. Like, let us give it a try. Let people enjoy it because I really think they would like it. I loved it, personally. It's a great experience. And I'm kind of jealous of Japan right now because back in the 90s, we didn't get this. I mean, we got Sonic at home with Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which is, of course, awesome. But man, well, I hope you've enjoyed this little divergence into the arcade market for Sonic. Like I said, there are other things we could talk about. There is an arcade version of Sonic 1 and Sonic 2, for example. And there are a handful of differences between them, but nothing of major note. There was also an arcade version of Sega Sonic All-Stars Racing, though oddly Transform never got put in the arcades for whatever reason. And like I said, there are just a bunch of other spinners and pachinko machines and slot machines and stuff like that. Nothing really we need to go into. I've gone over most of the actual games you really want to talk about, the exclusive ones, except of course for Sonic the Fighters. Next time. Till then, this is Darkness, and I bid you all a fond farewell.